Welcome to the Michigan Golfer Show with your host, Bill Shelton. Join us each week as we explore the people, the places, and the events that shape our great game.
We're talking with Dave Harner, the director of golf at the French Lick Resort here in Indiana. And Dave, this is an exciting time. Tomorrow we're going to have the opportunity to see for the first time and play some of the Pete Dye course, which is the third course that's been added here. Let's start by talking about the French Lick Resort. You've been here for 30 plus years. Tell us a little bit about this facility.
Well, this facility now is actually not just the one hotel, the French Lick Hotel. The West Baden Springs, which we're sitting in right now, the domed hotel in West Baden. We added 246 rooms to our room total, and now we're up to over 700 rooms with the two properties. Old historic properties, both were built in 1901 to 1902, all completed in 1 year. I did a radio show out of Pennsylvania this weekend, and the fellow who did the show said, this dome was at one time the 8th wonder of the world, and I think now Pete Dye is creating the 9th.
We heard earlier today that in the early part of the century, or the 1901, 1902 part, that this used to be a destination place for several reasons. One, because of the mineral springs that were here, certainly because of the railroad, and then we understand that maybe there was some gambling, though it might have been illegal at the time. So this area has been known for something other than golf, but obviously, with the combination of what you already have and what you're now adding, you're making this a golf destination.
There's a tremendous commitment on the owner's behalf to move this thing forward as a golf destination.
What makes or what helps Cook decide that this is an investment that is worth the energy, the effort? I mean, we're in a tough economy in America right now. How do you go about that process of kind of getting to the point of this is a good investment of the resources?
Well, when we first talked to Historic Landmarks about securing this building to prevent its collapse, we talked about that, and then actually in the fall of Thanksgiving of '95, my wife and I had been here and looked at it, and we were talking about, is there anything you can do with this to make it adaptive reuse and make it a profitable operation? And I told Bill and Gail that I couldn't think of anything. And so when we met with Reed Williamson of Historic Landmarks and decided to get into this, I answered the question, this is a project of the heart. This is not one that you measure in dollars and cents. It's one that has to have much more. You have to have passion for this. You've got to want to do it because you believe it is something important to do. This is a heart project. It's also a major impact project. This was the highest unemployment area in the state of Indiana. They'd lost their manufacturing base, they'd lost their employment. It had been a long downturn for it. And so we've hired 1,000 people just from Orange County. And 500 from the surrounding counties. But this project will impact this whole section of southern Indiana, and that, when you see what you're doing for people and etc., that is really the greatest reward that you have in that project. Now, do we want to be profitable? Yes. And are we profitable yet? No. Will we get there? Yes.
Yeah. The Donald Ross course here has been a great golf course in the Midwest for many, many years. The way I like to package it is to say that we have the best of the old in the Donald Ross course, and with the Pete Dye, we'll have the best of the new.
And you also have a 9-hole course that certainly for guests staying at the hotels is a fun and challenge in itself.
It's a fun golf course, and it is a challenge. The back tee yardage is somewhere around 3,500 yards, making it a 7,000-yard test for 18. So, yeah, it's a fine little golf course, and time is an important thing now to everyone, and to be able to jump out there and play a 9-hole golf course and enjoy it, and it be a challenge, that's pretty important.
How did you get to the decision that maybe adding that next 18, and I understand, and we're looking forward to seeing it, that this is on the second highest land in the state of Indiana. First of all, how did you reach that decision? And secondly, then, how did you get to the decision that Pete Dye would be the designer?
I've always personally envisioned, for years and years that'd be a great spot for a golf course. It was actually in the center of the Taggart property where the 1920, or the builder of the hotel, who was here through the 1920s, built his weekend retreat house on that second highest point in Indiana. And the topography, the ridge lines, the views up there were spectacular. And I always thought, it'd be a great place for a golf course. And then along comes the Cook Group with Mr. Steve Ferguson, who's kind of their golf visionary. He's a very passionate golfer and believes in this project. And he must have heard me, or he thought the same thing.
Well, it's turned out to be, and as I say, I've talked to Pete tonight, and wow, he is so excited about this course. He says, most of my vistas on the courses that are special to me involve water, and here from the vistas here, you can see 30 miles around the state of Indiana. So obviously, he agrees that this is a great piece of property to put a golf course on.
Well, Pete came down to the property the first time, and we had talked to a lot of different people about this golf course. Mr. Ferguson went through an extensive research as to who he wanted to be the architect here, and we had some really, really great ones. And, Pete was one of the last to enter the fray, and Pete came down, and we walked the property, and Pete told me at the end, he said, we can't build a golf course on that piece of property. So at the end of the day, I made a phone call to Mr. Ferguson, and I said, Pete says we can't build a golf course on that property. He said, well, that's funny because Pete just called me. He wants to come back tomorrow. So he came back the next day with topo maps, and Pete essentially marked the 36 highest points on the ridge lines, and each one of those represented either a tee or a green, and he connected it up and drew the golf course on a napkin at a local restaurant that day, and we still have the napkin in our trophy case out at the Donald Ross. But to make a long story short, I came back, and Pete said, you got to tell Mr. Ferguson I'm going to build this golf course whether he wants me to or not. So I called Mr. Ferguson, and Steve said, well, what did he say? And I said, well, he says he's going to build it whether we want him to or not. And he said, well, what do you think? And I said, well, it sounds like we better let him.
So we've got two 18-hole golf courses, a 9-hole golf course, and then the casino. So French Lick, and then with these beautiful hotels, the French Lick Hotel and then this West Baden Hotel. I mean, this is a destination for people who really want a little bit of a variety of things, from the spa to the casino to the golf.
Yeah, I was going to mention my friends at the spa. They would be highly aggravated with me if I didn't mention them. But yeah, our two spas are probably world class in their own right, especially the West Baden. I don't know if you had a chance to see it, but please walk in and take a look. It's state of the art, and it's a wonderful experience.
Thanks, Dave. And when folks are looking for places to golf, we enjoy golfing. We enjoy sometimes 36 holes a day, but we also enjoy some of those other diversions, and certainly the casino at French Lick and the spa facilities at French Lick. This is a place that the serious golfer will want to enjoy: the Donald Ross course, the Pete Dye course, the 9-hole course, the casino, the spa. It's a total package here at French Lick, and we thank Dave Harner for sharing a little information with us on the Michigan golfer.